What is up, everybody? 49's Fine, back at you again today with another precious metals video. And today, in response to these rate cuts that we've experienced and the different price movements we've seen in the stock market and in metals, it really got me thinking about the health and the future prosperity of the United States dollar. So this isn't going to be a doom and gloom video, but there are some kind of serious things that I do want to talk about. So let's get into it. A huge thank you to our first two community members, Scott and Zeus. Thank you guys very much for being part of the finest. Let me preface that this video is not financial advice. Do your own research, come to your own conclusions based upon that. How do you guys like the new setup? Do you like the close-up look more? I personally do. I think it's more aesthetic. It's cinematic looking. It's high in detail. I just like the way this looks. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. So what I noticed is that we have these rate cuts, which should be mainstream news. These rate cuts are directly related to the strength of the American dollar, the future of the American dollar, and yet nobody really even knows about it. Only people like us know about it. People that pay close attention to the markets, silver and gold stackers. We're like the only people that really are aware of this at all. The general public doesn't care, and they should. And the reason I think that these cuts are very important and they're a very substantial thing to have happened this year is because these cuts that we have seen will affect the United States dollar forever. And it's not like they're going to stop. They're going to continue cutting rates every 3, 6, 9 months forever. It's just going to continue. They're not going to stop. This wasn't the only rate cut. We're going to see future rate cuts. Rate cuts, they're not necessarily a good thing. They kind of buy us time, but really they don't buy us time at the same time. Rate cuts are basically just going to promote economic activity and commerce and exchange. It makes debt easier to attain. How is that a good thing when we're a country that is broke in a ton of debt? The American people have record high credit card debt. How is it okay that now it is easier to attain even more debt? So with this, I don't think assets like houses are going to necessarily rise immediately. I think that's going to come a little bit in the future. I think the housing market takes a little while to adjust to market changes. A house is one of the biggest purchases you're ever going to buy. It's not nearly, you're not buying a house nearly as often as a silver stacker may buy silver or a gold stacker may buy gold. So I don't think we'll see huge changes quite yet in the real estate market as a result of these interest rate cuts, but the price appreciation will hit eventually. And whenever it does, whenever these houses that were $150,000 6 months ago are now $185,000, and these houses that are $300,000 6 months ago are now $400,000, it's gonna affect us in a big way because it's a direct representation of how much weaker the dollar has gotten. Inflation is just going to continue. And I titled this video, Stackers Have 5 years left, and I don't think it's exactly 5 years necessarily, but I think within the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see some serious inflation because the dollar is being sold out from under us. Its value is being sold out from under us via money printing. As more loans are taken, as more debt is accrued at lower and lower interest rates, the more money printing we are going to undergo. Hyperinflation will come eventually. I don't know if it's 5 years from now. It could be 15 years from now. I don't really know, but it's going to happen, and it's not that far away. And we as a people are so incredibly unprepared. Some of you watching this video are 100% prepared. You've been on top of it for decades, and I applaud you for that. I'm proud of you for that. You're doing an excellent thing. But the average everyday American is simply not doing that. They don't actually own anything. After hyperinflation hits, That's the first dying sign, significant sign that the dollar is being debased. There is no foundation for the dollar at that point. After, I don't know, several quarters of hyperinflation, we're at a point where the dollar isn't even recognizable in terms of a unit of transaction as it used to be. It feels so crazy talking about this. It feels crazy talking about this, and it feels like I'm telling some type of movie plot or something, but it's the truth. It's coming. I mean, it may not, obviously it's not going to happen exactly how I'm explaining it. Who really knows exactly what's going to take place and when and in what order, but we do know the nature of the dollar. It's a fiat currency. It has a limited lifespan, and we can kind of see its golden years coming up. We can see death knocking at the door for our currency. So once this debasement finally takes place, the United States government is going to have to do something. They're going to have to reinvent the wheel. They're going to have to revolutionize. They're not going to be able to undo what has been done. They're going to have to create a digital currency. Gone will be the days of actually tangibly holding your dollars in your hand. Ownership as a whole will start to go out the window. It's already somewhat of a pipe dream to get a hold of a house as a young person nowadays, but when the dollar falls to 1/10 of its current values, I don't know how anyone's going to be able to afford a home or a decent vehicle to get to and from work, and companies that employ us are not going to be able to react in time to pay their employees at the rate that we are losing money due to inflation. It's going to be a tough time for people that are not prepared. We already are beginning to see a rent society being established. There's home ownership by age is going up and up and up. It's harder and harder to get a hold of real, valuable, useful, tangible assets. And I think it's only going to get worse from here. Of course, you can always invest in the stock market. That's a great way to make gains. But the issue with stocks are, number one, you can't hold them in your hand. One little software glitch, cyber attack, incorrect keystroke, and everything can be gone. That used to seem kind of like a conspiracy theory, but we've seen plenty of different types of cyber attacks to different companies throughout 2024, and I think those are going to become more common in the future. These systems that we use, we rely on so heavily, but they're so incredibly fragile, and if things go wrong, we don't have any recourse. We don't really have countermeasures a lot of the time. If somebody hacks your email and then they get into your email and then they figure out what bank account is attached to that email and they get into your bank account, if you don't check your balance in time, or if your bank doesn't call you and 1 or 2 days passes before you realize you're missing all of your net worth, there's a good chance you're not getting that back. And stocks, to me, are no different. You can't hold them in your hand. And when a hyperinflationary event happens in the future, and if our currency is ever debased and it completely goes to nothing, a lot of companies are going to die off. We don't know which ones will, but some of them will, without a doubt. That's going to wreck the economy. Lots of companies will fall out and they won't be worth anything. They'll close their doors. And other companies, they may make a fortune off of it. I mean, Microsoft is, I don't know, $430 a share right now. Maybe whenever this happens, it's worth $55,000 a share. Anything's possible, but the problem with stocks is, number one, you can't hold them in your hand, and number two, you don't know which ones are going to survive these huge market influxes and crashes. It's impossible to tell. Not only that, digital currency, it's going to be tracked and intangible. There's no real control over it anymore. You won't be able to hold it in your hand, and you won't have any privacy. And privacy, to me personally, is a big deal. So what does that mean for bullion? What does that mean for silver and gold? I have good and bad news. And the good and bad news comes from the same place. And that is that bullion prices, I believe, will be unattainable. It'll be just as hard to get an ounce of silver as it is to get an ounce of gold today. I see that coming. It's gonna be very difficult, very difficult to get a hold of tangible assets, not only because currency has been debased and it's lost all its value, but also because everybody else will be dying to get a hold of something that they can hold in their hand that is actually worth real money. But this isn't all doom and gloom. We still have time. There's plenty of things that we can do to kind of prepare ourselves for this. One of my biggest concerns is to pay the house off, get it off, paid completely, don't have to worry about it. That will reduce my cost of living significantly. The next thing is paying off all of my debt. I already have paid off all of my debt, but if I have any in the future, that'll all be gone. And all the while, I'll be stacking steady, I'll be stacking strong into silver and gold, and I will be protected against any type of cyber attacks. I don't have to worry about that, and there's no telling what these prices are going to be in 15 years. Because number one, like I said, inflation's going to go crazy. The currency is going to go bust eventually. Like I said, I don't know when that is. That could be 5 years from now, could be 20 years from now. I don't really know, obviously, but it's going to happen. It's going to come, and people are also going to be dying to get a hold of this stuff. That's why I'm trying to become as debt light as possible and asset heavy as possible. As I've stacked and as I've grown as a stacker and as I've learned about tangible assets and as I've learned about silver and gold and real estate and things, I've really become someone who favors tangible assets. Real estate, I think, is the number one asset. It has absolutely the most utility out of anything you could ever invest in, especially a home. If you have a nice 3-bed, 2-bath in a nice area with a nice yard that you can plant, a garden, grow some potatoes, put a chicken coop back there, that is the number one asset you could probably ever purchase. Coming in a close second is silver and gold. Why do I say that? Because silver and gold has outlasted every single fiat currency ever, and it will continue to do so. This is God's money. It's not going anywhere. It outlasts every currency ever made, and it will continue to do so. So I think it is absolutely imperative to make this part of your portfolio, pay off your debt, get your cost of living down as low as possible, stack heavy, and be happy. And you'll have that peace of mind once you start feeling that weight in your hands. Anyways, guys, those are just some of my thoughts today. I hope everyone is doing well. Stay strong out there, guys. Peace.